So when I was recording this, I had it in my head that I would do one zone per part. That plan fell apart quickly.
See, now this looks like a Lewis playthrough.
Yeah, well, the previous part would have been 40 frickin' minutes.
What was the point of that?
Rings.
To get you used to, and to get you used to the monkey bar stuff.
Oh yeah, that's just a little... They put a few monkey bars at the start of the level so that you could get used to how they control.
Which is not at all natural or organic. It's just here. Get ready.
Well, I mean, you know, at least they just put it there so that you can mess around with them. On your first playthrough, why not?
Yeah. These I don't understand.
They're warps that take you either up or down to a different path in the level. In this case, we're actually going to the higher path. But sometimes they take you to the lower path, and it always sucks when that happens.
Is this like in lots of the levels or just this one?
I think every act has it.
It kind of reminds me of like those vines in Super Mario Brothers 3 that take you up into the clouds. Oops.
I'm not sure how I feel about
Just go right.
Because if there's one thing about Sonic that I think is very admirable, it's that all the stages try very hard to feel cohesive. Like, when you mention that about Mario, that's an element of Mario that just is not cohesive. Mario does not care if each level is a world that could exist upon itself. Like, that's just not something the franchise gives a shit about. But Sonic kind of has, you know, and you see that with, like, Sonic 3, where all the levels lead into each other and whatever.
I want to know who thought it was a good
really
idea to have a
weird
Crash Bandicoot, like, light mask section in a Sonic game.
I'm actually reminded, the butterfly reminds me a lot of Rayman Origins, because there's a very similar, like, section there where you have to keep fireflies near you, otherwise you can't see, and then you die.
Speed Highway does kind of feel like a Rayman Legend level, to be honest.
Like one of the 3D ones? I've only played...
Well, one of the, like Rayman Origins Legends, it has that kind of art style to it, in a way.
Oh,
also,
okay.
they brought back the infinite loop. I didn't expect to see that in 2.5D.
Like, I think I only got to Ice Cap Zone, like, once or twice as a kid, playing on the Mega Collection. But I remember getting to the infinite loop and having no idea what's going on and being like, when do I land?
You don't.
Now,
this goddamn music, oh man, it sounds like somebody, like, took a merry-go-round and, like, beat in the speakers so that, like, you can't really hear the music, but it's still playing. Oh god, this is terrible.
One thing I will compliment about the special stage is that they finally solved the problem of the goal blocks making no aesthetic sense by just turning them into frickin' teleports. I like these switches that change around the
Oh yeah, that's neat.
the red blocks. They also, in later stages, added the S block back in.
What does that do?
Really? From Sonic 1?
Yeah, the unused S block is here.
What does that do?
It just spawns invisible parts of the level. The S block was an unused asset from Sonic 1 that was supposed to be somewhere in the special stages, but never actually got used.
I think it was just supposed to give you an extra life.
I don't.
No, because there was a different 1-up icon that was also unused.
Glitch alert, by the way. That, like, you know the transparent little candy circle things? You can get stuck on the wrong side of those pretty easily when they spawn in this special stage and soft lock yourself.
Fucking idiot. That's what you get for paying for this game.
Well, I call it a soft lock, but really you just kind of have to suicide out of the bonus stage at that point. But here's a beginner's trap for people who got used to resetting themselves in special stages in Sonic 4. If you pick the restart option in a bonus stage or a special stage, it restarts you to the beginning of the act you're playing.
Oh, okay, because that was the only way you could get emeralds in Sonic 4. Because the special stages were obnoxious, and the only reason you could get them was because you could retry them as many times as you want, as long as you paused before you died.
Okay, at this point, I'm just like saying nuts to the other switch. You're supposed to go to both sides and hit both switches to guarantee yourself a safe passage to the metal, but that takes too long. Fucking just slide down one wall. Easy. The arrows that they added to the checkpoints, by the way, I kind of wish the other games had those.
Wait a minute.
That does not look like how you're supposed to do that.
Wait, you jumped up and it went into the foreground.
What?
Yeah, you just jumped while you were attacking that bat.
Yeah, you jumped.
You jumped up and hit the You went into the foreground.
I think that's something that you can do in the old games too, but it doesn't look as janky because it's a fully two-dimensional plane versus.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice. There is some like there are very occasional like weird things that happen during animations. I think I saw a GIF on Twitter of someone who was just running as Sonic, and for a split second, Sonic smirked at the screen in like a one-frame animation.
Does he know?
Now, one thing that I won't compliment Sonic Superstars on is the badniks. They do a pretty decent job of introducing new badniks throughout the game, but you're also going to see recurring badniks all the time. And that is...
If there are new badniks, I can only count maybe one or two off the top of my head.
There was that stupid fucking frog that catches you with his tongue. That's, I think, exclusive to Speed Jungle. But, like, you're going to see crab meat and the goddamn bats, like, in way too many zones.
And the slicers.
And the do the slicers reappear?
The slicers, I think, are only in Gold Capital.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, do they appear in any other zone?
I don't recall.
But they're back as a thing.
It's not necessarily a bad thing to have repeating enemies because then you can reuse obstacles. But the crabs and the bats are they just kind of stand there. So they're not, like, as visually interesting. And, like, these rabbits, like, that's a new, unique obstacle. Like, so if they wanted that specific challenge back in a later stage, that would be great. But for your standard, I'm just gonna stand here kind of guys, Sonic has kind of made it a tradition to have them all look different to fit the stage, so it is kind of lame if they don't.
I would give them points for bringing back splats if they hadn't brought back splats in Mania in a way more interesting context.
Ooh, this is a fun little tongue twister.
The game makes fun of you if you don't get anything. It's like, loser, you get a gray screen.
Yeah, kinda. Although I will give the bonus stages credit for at least giving you medals for partial victory. Oh.
Okay, here's something that's controversial. It's gonna make the classic fans get all heated up in the comment section. I think classic boosters look dumb. In this essay,
Are you talking about like the two wheels?
They're so big. Like, Amy's like spine's gonna rip by getting. Have you like seen tires moving that close to each other? Like, you get crushed. You know, it's much faster to go on like the little zoomy, little conveyor belt looking.
Well, wasn't the implication always is that you get squeezed and you just get launched out?
Yeah, but that looks painful and dumb. And my very serious opinion about booster graphics.
Counter argument. What if I were to tell you that Sonic isn't real?
Oh, is he fake? Please tell me he's fake.
On the subject of boosters, thank God they don't overuse them in this game.
No, they put faith into the game's engine.
Yeah.
More often than what Sonic 4 did.
Okay, yeah. So it's been at least 10 years since I played Sonic 4. That was one of the problems, right? It had a million boosters everywhere.
Yeah.
A million boosters and springs.
Yeah, boosters and springs to keep you going fast because the engine just wouldn't do it on its own. The boosters and stuff do appear a little bit more often in the stage design of this game than they would in, say, Mania or the classic games, but they still appear like in moderation. And like in Speed Jungle, it makes sense because it's the frickin' Stardust Speedway level. And also the rail grinding only works when you're above a certain speed, so they give you a way to get to that speed really quickly. But,
Wait, why did you go backwards?
Because that is a recurring glitch that happens when you spin dash immediately after coming back from a bonus stage. It happens consistently. Every fucking time.
Amy realized she left her oven running.
It only happens when you come back from a bonus stage, not after a special stage, because the special stage spawns you in the air, and I guess that resets your positioning. But when you show up after a bonus stage, it's just, it always happens.
That's such a bizarre kind of thing, too.
Yeah, I said this game was missing a QA pass or two, right?
So that's the bullet power, right? Where you meteor dash all over the place.
Yep. There's the S block.
Kind of feels like everybody gets to be Tails in that sense.
In a sense, yes, but you can only use it once per checkpoint, so you have to pick your moment.
That's fair.
The other power is another power that kind of steps on Tails' shoes is Vine, which grows a fucking vine that you just sort of hold on to as it grows up. But that one's a little trickier to use in any old situation because it will get stuck on ceilings, and it's actually surprisingly easy to get stuck on the corner of a ceiling. And you don't really have time to grow more than one long vine before the timer runs out, so if you mess up...
I mean, Tails can stand to have his toes stepped on a little bit, considering that he's been the most OP Sonic character since 1992. So, you know.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, in this game, we also have Amy, who has the double jump and the hammer, and Trip, who has the double jump and the spike power from Sonic Colors.
Wouldn't that just make her better than Amy then? If she
well, she doesn't have Amy's hammer, so she doesn't have the extended hitbox when she's jump attacking. And there are a lot of enemies in this game, almost as if they built the game for Amy, that have spikes that you need the hammer to get through. And a lot of those enemies are all over Trip's campaign, so you really feel the absence of that hammer.
I've heard Knuckles is bad in this. Is he bad?
I would say bad. He's just woefully. He's inadequate compared to everybody.
He has a bit of a physics quibble that I've read about compared to his previous versions. On the other hand, he doesn't have the fucking gimped jump. So
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, he can still climb walls. He can still glide.
Yeah, he basically
like usual.
It's just like he doesn't really have anything going for him that Trip doesn't have or that Amy doesn't have. He can like bull rush through breakable walls, but he doesn't really have any unique routes that he can take either. And you know, in the case of the emerald power stepping on a character's toes, like you feel that harder with Knuckles than you do with Tails, because at least Tails can fly any old time he wants. But, like, what's the use of having wall climbing power if you can just vine your way up it, you know? This boss fucking sucks. This is the one boss I will not defend at all. Well, that and Fang.
Can you not hit him?
You can only damage it with using its own claw.
How many times do you have to hit him?
Look at me. Many. I'm just cheesing his fucking
I think
attacks.
I think it's 6. Yeah, there are a few bosses. I mean, this boss is, I guess, unique in that sense, but the spirit of a lot of encounters in this game is you get one opening to attack at once, and if not, then your punishment is essentially 15-20 seconds of dodging shit before the next opening happens.
I'll give it this. Even this boss gives you more openings to attack the boss than the bosses in Sonic 4 Episode 2 did. But
the bosses in that game were terrible. Oh god.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? A lot of bosses in this game are kind of like that. Not to that degree of bad. Although I would argue some bosses are just as bad, if not worse.
Are any as bad as the stupid like sand trash compactor thing?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's the sand level boss. That one's
dude. The auto scroller boss against Fang is dog shit.
Yeah, that boss. I will not defend that boss either. I mean, it's not a boss that irritates me in a sense. It's just a boss that kind of bores me. But I do kind of like the stuff Fang does in the background, narratively speaking. Like he's upgrading his mech as he goes. That's pretty neat. But you know, they could have.
But one topic of conversation though that I did want to start with the boss fight specifically. Why does it bother us so much that for a boss fight, we're only allowed to hit it once, and then it's 15 seconds of like dodging attacks because it's the boss's turn to attack, and then we get to a chance to attack. It's like there are a lot of games where boss fights are essentially like that. The bosses act and you react. I was just playing Mario Wonder yesterday at the time of recording this. I'm fighting like the Bowser Jr. boss battles, and Bowser Jr. is like you hit him once, and then he goes into his invulnerable spinning phase as they usually do.
That's like one of Mario Wonder's few weak points is that its bosses are bad.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a Mario game, you say.
But for Sonic specifically, though, like, why does this kind of design bother the fucking shit out of us? It's like so much.
Because the classic games didn't do that for the most part, and ultimately, this game is about, the gimmick is going fast. Well, why aren't the bosses fast? If I know what to do. So.
That's a double-edged sword, because, the bosses could be too fast at times in some of the other games, especially fucking Sonic CD, where the bosses barely exist.
I would say that 2D platformers in general and Sonic in specific have problems with boss fights. I'm struggling off of the top of my head to think of many platformers that have good bosses, especially ones where you don't have some sort of projectile weapon.
Freedom Planet.
Okay, so Freedom Planet tries pretty hard, but like some of the later ones get pretty obnoxious.
I'll agree. Like some of the bosses in Freedom Planet can be bitches, but I find them way more engaging.
I'm not going to count games like Freedom Planet and Mega Man for the purposes of this conversation, because those are hybrid action systems.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's why I mentioned, like, especially ones that don't have guns, because like it's an element of the game you don't have in Sonic.
I only mentioned Freedom Planet specifically because that is clearly like aping out of like Sonic.
It's also aping several other things, though.
Yeah, but primarily Sonic, though. Let's not kid ourselves.
So, but the thing is that like old Sonic has a problem where bosses are like feast or famine. Either they're down in 20 seconds tops, and they are no problem, or they're the biggest pain in the ass in the entire world. Like, I'm thinking, and then you also have ones where they just feel like they go on forever. Like, I'm especially thinking of Sonic Rush bosses right now, which actually feel very similar to this. Like,
the Sonic Rush bosses are more like Klonoa bosses, to be honest. But like okay, so the thing about classic Sonic bosses in specific is that they generally do a good job of being interesting platforming challenges. The problem with even the best bosses in classic Sonic, though, is that there's nothing stopping you from cheesing the hell out of them, because you can just hit them over and over with no invincibility frames whatsoever. The one good thing this thing does with its boss fights is forcing you to wait at least 2 or 3 seconds before you hit them again after hitting them. The problem
that was one thing I was going to point out, is that at least you have to fight the boss in this. You can't just like do the thing where you go underneath it in Oil Ocean or jump on top of the pillar in whatever aquatic stage in Sonic 2.
Yeah, but like they overcompensated by adding too much lag to the animations of the boss, and too many times where you just don't have an opportunity to hit the boss at all. The result is that a lot of the boss fights trick players into thinking they have fewer opportunities to hit the boss than they do. And, that's a failure of gameplay conveyance, but, like, oh yeah, this is a neat trick you can do in the special stages. You can use the mines to grapple directly forward, and as long as you let go before that happens, you can actually gain some ground that way. Well, what was I saying? The bosses. Right. There's too much lag. There are too many times where the boss just straight up prevents you from hitting them. And it genuinely does drag the bosses down. The bosses that just straight up hang out in the background are also like.
I'm trying to think of a 3D boss in particular that I liked. Like the
Egg Viper.
That one also kind of has a similar issue, though, because, again, you have to wait for Eggman to be like, "Oh, Sonic, get a load of this. I'm standing here and waving my arms."
It does, but it has at least a little bit of leeway because it's the final boss of the game, so...
Yeah,
making you take some time to dodge his attacks is not such a big ask.
The final
another 3D boss I like.
The final shadow fight in Adventure 2, more accurately, the Generations revisit, is less
I was going to say the
janky.
Generations shadow fight is good.
Yeah, the revisit's much less janky because,
Generations bosses tended to do this kind of thing all the time, though.
Well, Generations also has, I still think, probably the worst boss fight in the series, so...
Which one?
Are you talking about Time Eater?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like I repress my memory of how bad that is every time.
I'm trying to think. Is there one that's worse? That stupid trash compactor gets pretty damn close, but at least it doesn't take like 5 minutes to finish. And people aren't talking about a homing shot. Why is there a breakout in my Sonic game? I'm very confused.
You call it breakout.
I get the feeling that this was designed specifically with multiplayer in mind, and it's like one of the few places they do that. Design a level with multiplayer in mind, that is.
No, I don't believe it.
To this day, I have not found a single one of these, like, multiplayer 2D games to actually be a lot of... Oh, Kirby's fine. To actually be fun in multiplayer.
What about Rayman? Rayman was fun with multiplayer.
Rayman, it's okay in multiplayer, but especially when you're trying to do the harder stages, trying to do that with 4 people is miserable, especially since one of the key, like, momentum gaining attacks, like the attack jump, there's friendly fire in that game, so you can like screw over other players trying to play well.
Well, here's the thing about Sonic Superstars. It's not a multiplayer platformer game, it's a single-player platformer game with multiplayer tacked on where it doesn't belong.
That's most of these.
It's especially egregious here because, like, the game just does not work in multiplayer. Remember our fight against fucking Dracula in Harmony of Despair? When we did that local co-op playthrough at the convention? The camera issues that caused us to rage quit that? It's that for the entire game.
I think in particular it's damning for Superstars because the multiplayer is a big selling point as well. It's like you play a classic Sonic game with your friends on local co-op. And it's like, okay, by play you mean
struggle.
Yeah.
Get those struggle bats ready because...
Oh my god.
I'm surprised.
This game, again, our SGB playthrough is going up around the time we're uploading this too. If you want a great example of how dog shit the multiplayer is, you watch that
Actually,
playthrough.
Thinking about it, I haven't heard from Matt in a while, so I'm not sure if he survived.
You said the quiet part out loud.
Okay, so Sky Temple here is actually one of several single-act zones, which was a surprising design choice. They compensate for some zones having technically 3 acts with the character levels by making 3 levels single-act zones.
Does every character get a single act, like a special act to themselves?
Yes. It acts as a middle act in an otherwise 2-act zone. So some of the zones actually have 3 acts. Just like there's an act in the middle that you have to play as a certain character to play. So the game is technically as long as, well, almost as long as Sonic Mania and 3 and K. Oh, Golden Badnik. I'll take my 1 medal. Thanks.
I'm not gonna feel too bad about it because I think it's an easy mistake to make when you fucking bash that thing and you see a number 100.
Well, it's weird because you don't see your score. I assume you see it at the end of the stage. But
yeah.
So you probably forget that you have a score, I would imagine.
Yeah. Am I still doing this? Oh, right. I haven't gone through all the...
Yeah, we've been doing this for over 13, 14 years.
I haven't gone through all the bonus stages yet. That's right.
Oh, do they repeat?
Yeah, they start to loop after you get past the last one, but there are like 16, 17 of the fucking things.
Jesus Christ. Somebody really likes this goddamn minigame.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's pretty fun, and a lot of the later ones are well designed. I enjoy these bonus stages. I wish there was something better as a reward than fucking medals, but, well, that's not the world we live in. I mean, even Sonic Mania Plus fucking eventually replaces the bonus stages at the checkpoints with the pinball stage after you get all the medals. So, yeah, but, like, I wish this game had elemental shields and bonus stages that you could get them from, because that was always the main draw of bonus stages for me, and it's especially the only draw of bonus stages for me now that lives aren't part of the question. You know, I'm not gonna lie, when I got to this point, I kind of expected them to pull the tornado pulls the goalpost away from you gag again.
I'm just expecting for a witch to come by, like... Okay, way to ruin the mood.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little wallet, too.
Oh god, the Oz DLC, where in order to get each of the companions extra things, it's just like, oh well, Scarecrow, I could give you your brain, but you're gonna have to pay another $4.99 for the brain DLC.
You know, if the storybook series had continued, I wouldn't have said no to a Sonic the Hedgehog Wizard of Oz mashup. That would have been fun.
Oh my god,
Wizard of Oz Plus.
Who's okay? No, Tails is the Scarecrow.
Sonic is Dorothy, and he definitely needs to have the braided pigtails.
No, Dorothy. Dorothy is the obligatory pink-haired anime woman who starts the story off, but you find out at the end that she's actually evil.
Oh, because we're being edgy. Okay, I got.
And also because that happened with both of the other two. Well, almost with the genie.
Turned evil. I'm actually
no.
That's not that surprising.
No, I mean like the genie and the frickin' wizard girl.
No, what's her name? Shara.
Well, I mean, Shara wasn't actually evil, but she was a double agent.
She's just a misunderstand anime wooby, Lewis.
Are we still talking about Oz?
I was talking about the storybook series.
Okay, so then is Sonic Toto then? Is he like sitting in her basket the entire time?
Sonic is Sonic. He's the only character who gets to be himself.
Yeah, he doesn't change. Yeah. The twist is that he ends up being Oz or some of the shit. I don't know.
Is it Knuckles? Please tell me it's Knuckles.
Tails.
No, Toto is going to be Cheese the Chow, obviously.
Cheese the Chow. Well, then that means that Cream would be
Dorothy. Yes, it writes itself. Why did I have to think of this for you?
I think if they were truly going to be like subversive like that, Glinda the Good Witch would be the bad witch the whole time, is what they probably would do.
And to make it extra cruel, she would be played by Vanilla.
Oh, man.
Oh, damn it. I keep fucking this bonus stage up.
Okay, so hold on. So Tails needs a brain. You see that Knuckles would need to be Scarecrow because Knuckles needs the brain. Okay, so Tails
gets to be the Tin Man, totally appropriate.
Tails would be the lion because he needs bravery or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true enough. But then who's the Tin Man?
Eggman, because he was a robot.
No, Shadow needs the heart.
Shadow, yeah.
The Tin Man would be Egg Robo.
Egg Robo. He wants to be a real boy. Oh god.
Oh, but hold on though. But what's the basis of that? Was Tin Man ever always a secret agent for the Wicked Witch of the West?
Yes, in Wicked, the Gregory Maguire books, or at least in the movie.
Okay.
Not the movie. God, in the stage show, Tin Man is actually like this douchebag who used to work with the Witch of the East, if I remember correctly.
Hold that thought. Hold that thought, because I'm about to blow your fucking mind. You can skip this transition by setting off Avatar right before it happens, and the avatars will just hit him straight out of it, and that cancels the whole transition. Woo! Wow. So you don't have to hover in the air for 30 fucking seconds. Unfortunately, you can only do it once per battle, so...
So, were we talking about boss fights at the beginning of this part? Damn. Like, this is actually, I think, like, structurally pretty sound for a boss fight in Sonic, where, you know, you have to chase Eggman up or down a thing and then hit him at the end. Like, as opposed, it feels different because you feel like you're doing something more substantial than just, like, moving out of the way of a laser or whatever, or a spike ball, and waiting. It feels more like you're making action that progresses the fight forward. It's about agency.
So, I like the Sky Temple boss. It's actually one of the bosses I will defend. Not the Trip version, though. The Trip version fucking sucks. But that's just true of all of her bosses. The Sky Temple boss is fine. And I like the idea that all of these single-act bosses have more climactic encounters to them. Sort of brings to mind the Big Arm at the end of Sonic 3, you know? What's not so great is the Sand Sanctuary boss. But you'll see when we get there. First, we have a carnival to go to. Because,
God forbid we play a Sonic game where they don't force us to go gambling for a half an hour.
Well, there's no gambling. So that's good news. Anyway.
Nothing. The part's over.